button. All right, I hit start streaming. We should be live. I would think it's just gonna pop up, and there she is. Well, we're back. 6 weeks in a row now. For once, Bismo's kind of consistent. Come on, you gotta give me some credit. Usually not the best with this, but we've stuck it out pretty good. I know one of those streams was about 30 minutes, but so yeah, today we're joined with a new guest. Well, not a new guest, but a guest that hasn't been here for a little bit, and I'm excited to have him here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day, Dan, from Stay on Target. What's up?
Hey man, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me on talking about Star Wars, dude.
Heck yeah,
Good,
heck
it's good
yeah.
to be back. It's good to be back.
Good. And of course, we've got Anthony from Pet Patrol Star Wars, the king of Star Wars what ifs. I've bestowed it upon him. I will keep keep saying it. Welcome back, Anthony. Have you been on every week? Like, has this just kind of been our thing?
Yeah,
These prediction
yeah,
streams. Yeah.
yeah, straight from Bad Batch too, I think.
Oh yeah, we did a lot of Bad Batch. To be fair, there was like 15 episodes, so I don't know if we got every week, but I think we did a good job kind of spacing it out. But yeah, so tonight, guys, those of you listening on VOD or live tuning in, we're going to be talking all things the Acolyte, talking about that last episode where we saw some action, which was very nice. But and then we're going to be speculating and kind of just predicting what's going on, kind of just discussing and whatnot. We may or may not have some other guests appearing later. No promises, but yeah, we shall see. So first off, though, let's dive into, before we get into the new stuff and speculation. Let's talk about that last episode. Definitely I would say a change of pace, to put it bluntly. So what? The episode just starts out and it's a massacre, right?
Yeah, honestly, it was a fresh take on Star Wars action, like we hadn't seen it yet in Disney Plus. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I would
Totally.
have to 100% agree with that. And even with shows that I've really enjoyed, like Ahsoka, I'm a huge Ahsoka fan. But this last episode's choreography really showed some, like, I wasn't seeing that level of choreography in Ahsoka. There was no way. And honestly, I didn't know that, like, since the prequels, haven't seen like a fight to that caliber. I mean, the thing is, Leslie said that there would be some duels in here that would like rival potentially episode 1 duels, right? So it's good to see. Honestly, my expectations were like, I don't see how that's possible, but I'd say they delivered. Whether you think it's like as good or not as good, I think it's like at least within the conversation. It wasn't like a no, that wasn't even close kind of thing. I think it's close. Like, would that be fair to say? Like, to like the duel against Maul with Obi-Wan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fair to say. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think it felt like they were trying to kill each other. Yeah. Sometimes it feels too much like a dance, which is cool as well. I mean, like
Mhm.
Ahsoka, it was just, but you could tell also in Ahsoka where they had to bring in their stunt doubles. And I think the thing that benefits here is when your actual actor can do the fighting.
Mhm.
It, there's no transition between like, uh-oh, they're like not a fighter and they're trying to pretend, okay, here's the cool move, sub in so camera cut, and then
Mhm.
now you got the real person that can move, like what happened in Ahsoka, a couple of scenes,
Yeah.
and other Disney shows. It's not just Ahsoka. But
Yeah.
this one, you're like, holy smokes, come here. That guy can fight. Like, I don't want to,
Who's
I don't
that?
want to face him.
Danny? What's his
Manny, I think. Yeah, Manny, I
Manny?
Manny.
think.
Manny.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's Manny. Yep.
sorry, Manny. Um,
And the
you're
and
you're a great actor. You're my new favorite. Sorry. Okay, just
no,
want to get that.
I agree. I agree. Daphne Keene, she can fight. We saw her in X-23, wasn't it? And the gal that plays May and Osha, she's clearly a physical,
Hmm.
force. So I mean, I guess for me that is so cool to see. Like they really want to kill each other, and
Yeah.
we got that result a few times, which might have been the freshest breath of air that I've breathed in a while watching anything in the Star
Yeah.
Wars or Marvel universe.
Yeah. I do gotta agree. I mean, as much as I love Ahsoka, I mean, Sabine took a saber, to the to the chest and kind of was doing all right after a couple days, which was, like it was. I was okay with it, but I prefer I really like the realisticness of like, all right, we're cutting people up, like people. You don't have the plot armor. Like they killed 2/3 of what I would consider the like main good guy characters. Like they killed 2/3 of them in that episode, right? I mean, we saw a guy's neck get snapped.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Anthony, your tweet was borderline borderline. That tweet was.
What did it say? What did it say?
What did it say? I forget what it said. What did it say?
It was like
I
you're
woke
like,
up and that was a.
dude, you were like, I'm. It's Acolyte Day. I'm excited for some more twists, and the picture is the the twist. That was pretty savage.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so thinking on it, like I rewatched that episode, I'd say 3 times, specifically the first 2/3 of it, because I just loved the action. It was so good. The one, like the drawback for me, which for me, the beginning was so like in my face, overwhelming, like everything I kind of wanted. It just overpowered a lot of the stuff that after thinking on it, I was like not as big of a fan. So like, for example, I'm not a big fan. Like I like this twist at the end where like they're switching places potentially. And we can speculate on that because that's definitely a big talking point. I didn't like some of the camera cutting they're doing where they had Osha in frame and then they had like half of like May, like clearly a stunt double or another actor. Like that looked like something I might try to pull off in like a Lego stop motion, for example, or something like that. Like I feel like they could have just used CGI to like what it was hard for them to have both of them on screen at the same time is what I'm getting at. And I kind of felt that a little bit. That's my like only real like gripe with this episode, I would say. It's just minor because I'm only looking at the action, but I don't know. Did you guys notice that at all?
I did actually, and I felt like it did kind of hurt both of their performances because we weren't able to see simultaneous reactions from both of them. You know what I'm saying? Like I get that they're obviously the same person. It's like The Parent Trap or these older movies that had like they love to do that where they cast the same actor and he's Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know. I'm talking new movies from the '90s. What I'm old, but
No.
anyway, but you could have done like a traditional split screen even where like she's on this side, she's on this side. They're
Yeah.
looking at each other on the same set, and then like a little CG green screen or better, they have the volume. You could literally put them looking at each other. They don't have to be touching. Maybe they don't have to be that close to each other even to make it feel like they're both reacting you know? But it did, in a positive way. I felt like though it reminded me a little bit of Lord of the Rings with Gollum and Smeagol going back and forth. I kind of had some of the
Yeah.
vibes of the camera work that she was doing or whoever was doing in this episode when they kind of would come around the back and then it would cut and then you'd see the other face and it kind of reminded me of although that was literally the same being, but 2 sides of that. I'm waiting for the voice. I'm waiting for the voice.
Is it tasty? Is it scrumptious? Why does Parkinson's hate us? I heard Gollum. I gotta do it. No. What do you think though, Anthony? Overall, like, did you notice that or like that kind of cutting they did? Like, did it feel a little cheesy or did it kind of work for you?
I like referring to that pan shot where like it goes around the 2 of them while they're hugging. Is that the shot you guys are referring to?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
And a couple of
I'm kind
shots.
of referring to a couple of the still shots where it's like in the corner of the screen, like imagine kind of here-ish, there's like the hair of one character, and then in this part of the frame, there's the like May, and then this is like Osha kind of thing. So like you can't see their face, but you see like the hair of one almost.
I didn't even catch that. No.
Well, no, it's not. This is kind of like more, I would say, a little bit nitpicky, but I'm just like looking at it was like what we're getting at is it would have been nice to have Osha and May in the same like both of their faces in the same frame for like an extended period of time, to see the emotion, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, especially since that's probably the most emotionally heavy moment that we potentially have had, with between the two of them. Like they're actually together, they're alone, conversations can be had, tears can be shed. They
Mhm.
hugged, so like they're kind of showing each of their reactions up close. Um, I can't imagine as being an actor trying to do that though. I mean, that'd be tough because like, all right, now turn around, now you're
Yeah.
May. All right, now turn around, now you're Osha. All right, now she's mad,
Yeah,
but
and
now
that's
she's happy.
oh,
It's just gonna be tough.
yeah. I'm realizing too, to do that, like they probably have to do all of OSHA or a bunch of scenes of OSHA, and then you have to get new, like the new outfits on, the new costumes to play the other character. So you wouldn't be able to just go back to back. Probably you'd have
Right.
to like do a bunch of them and then do it. Uh, what do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, to go off of what Dan was saying about like it being like the most emotionally heavy scene, I think you're right there. But I also like I think I was more so I think what I was focused on the most was like the very intentional gaslighting from May. And like that was like I definitely like it felt like they wanted you to feel like it was supposed to be an emotional scene, but I couldn't get past the gaslighting. And I think that was intentional. I think it's like at least from what we've seen so far, it feels like May is gaslighting Osha and being like, no, we were like the bestest of sisters and everything
Hmm.
was cheery, and it's like, well, we kind of saw you lock her in a room
Yeah,
and light it on fire. So you know, not super cheery, but I feel like that moment will be like kind of key to something that happens in this in one of the following episodes,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah. I I think we know that some kind of um vision. Okay, why can I not think of the word? What was episode 3? Oh, flashback. Sorry, blanking.
Flashback.
Yeah, we're gonna get some kind of flashback.
Yeah.
I could totally see that being this episode, following that kind of like you're saying. She was basically, saying like, "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything bad in this situation." Which, uh, I mean, they were kids though, and we've only seen one perspective. So like, yes, we did see May being evil, but like, how evil was she truly, or does OSHA have a foggy memory in what's going to happen here? I guess it's tough. What if? Oh, Star Wars. What if? I don't know. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, getting another flashback with them, maybe.
Yeah. Do you think that would be
Yeah.
this episode following a scene like that?
Well, at some point, we need some answers as to what happened on that day,
Definitely.
that fateful day that has guided us to this point. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be this episode. But I've been wrong about everything, honestly. Like I came out of episode 4 with that, cliffhanger, thinking that honestly, episode 5, I honestly thought they were going to skip the fight and like save that for later. I
Hmm.
was thinking in 5 they were just gonna either brush over that or go somewhere else or go back to Coruscant or something and then take an episode there. And then I was pleasantly surprised when they jumped right into the action and was floored, like you said, for 20 minutes. So much so that I was like, can I just have 20 minutes of this every episode?
Yeah,
But
I
like
agree with that.
partially because like for me the dialogue isn't great and it's not working, so as soon as they start talking again I was kind of like, that hurts me a little bit. But when they were just fighting and everything like was happening like boom boom boom, like all right, they're going at it now and this is gonna, and then the dialogue was specific to the fight, I guess. As a person who has partaken in a fight choreography with my little brother, you know it's like the dialogue is important, but it's only so much as to like, I'm gonna kill you, and I'm this person, and you're bad, and I'm good, And so I liked the everything meant something in that moment because it might be your last words. You know what I'm saying? And I like
Yeah.
those stakes that were presented in that episode. And then the Osha May story for me is just very confusing, and so I'm having a hard time following where they're going. And I think a lot of people kind of agree, but I also feel like they're doing that intentionally. They're leaving it vague because there is so much mystery surrounding what happened that night. How are we going to get that answer? Are we not gonna get the answer? I presume we're gonna get an answer. Is it kind of one of
Mhm.
those you may never know? You know, maybe maybe it was, I think what happened is the intrigue with Soul now as he was talking to Kamir, kind of like, and that dynamic, and then of course Osha being like, "Yo, Soul, what happened? What's going on here? Are you, tell me everything." And then he was like putting it off again. Like that's the second time. He's like, "I'll tell you when we get to the ship. Don't bother." You know,
Yeah.
there's just a lot going
Yeah.
on that, yeah, I have no idea I guess that's a long way explanation of saying I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said it before, but yeah, the weakest episode for me is definitely that flashback episode, like by far the weakest for me. And the thing with the show is like I've had some very like it's very variable for me. Like I've probably this might be the biggest range of like the last episode near perfect for me. That episode 3 is a bit iffy in some areas, but I'm curious though. Would will some of my thoughts on that episode change with more perspective on like a new flashback of like, okay, they were intentionally confusing here, or I don't know, they explain some new answers potentially with like a flashback that could somehow make an episode like that stronger.
Yeah, I think I I'm kind of theorizing that Kimir was there. He seems to know that Soul did something. I don't know if that's just because May told him what she saw or if he was actually physically there. But I'm
Hmm.
kind of getting the vibe that it's going to be Kimir who unveils the truth to May. And we might get like not a full episode flashback, but like an episode that like where like part of the episode like you see like flashes of moments. And I think that could be this episode where you get like flashes of something that happened. But um to answer more of your question, what I found is I had a friend that hadn't watched anything. And so we started over from scratch to rewatch the entire show up until episode 4, like right before 5 dropped. And so for me at least, it was so much more rewarding seeing everything much more fluidly
Hmm.
than it was waiting week to week. Because like when you're waiting week to week, you want to like especially with the trailer that we got for Acolyte, you want to see that duel. And so when you take an episode away from the duel, you're like, you know.
Yeah.
And so like when it was built, like it was sequentially going like back to back watching like one, two,
Hmm.
three, four, and then getting ready for 5, it felt so much more rewarding. And I think when the show's done, its rewatchability is going to be off the charts.
Yeah. I I think one of the I agree with that in that um I certainly think that these Disney Plus shows should be bingeable. Like, what for me, I'm saying that episode 3 is a bit weaker, and then if a lot of other people think for some reason that episode's weaker, well, that's what you have for a week now, and we're not waiting. Whereas, let's say they drop 4 episodes at a time. Well, okay, let's say they drop the whole show at the time. Let's say they drop the whole show at the time. You're not going to hear as many people talking about episode 3. All you're going to hear about is like the episode 5 moments and what I
Yeah.
presume is going to be episode 7 and 8. Hopefully some more, you know, peak to, But what I'm getting at though is like when you get like for me, this episode's been or this series been very variable. I averaged my rating so far the first 5 episodes, and it's hovering right around that like 6.9 to 7 out of 10ish mark, with some scores being like, you know 4, like that's the lowest, and then 6s to 8s, 9s, and 10s. And it's like super variable. But if I watched it all in one sitting, I mean, when you watch something all in one sitting, it's hard to pay attention the whole time. But I'm going to be paying attention, and I'm going to be talking about like that episode 5. Guess what I'm getting at. It's same thing with House of the Dragon right now, which is one of my favorite shows. Couple of back-to-back kind of a little bit slower episodes where we'd be like, man, I wish I could have just binged these rather than having to wait for them. But
So House of the Dragon is week to week too.
yeah, it is week to week on Sundays. Yeah, it's crazy time because I'm also big into anime. So Demon Slayer, the season's been coming out. It actually just had its season finale, which was crazy yesterday. It was like 40 minutes long, which is super long for anime. Usually it's like 20 minutes. And they also made a crazy announcement with that. They're like, all right, and to finish the series, we're making a trilogy of movies only available on the big screen. I'm like, what? So that was kind of hype. Okay, side tangent. Let's shift a little bit here. I guess we still got a good amount of time, but I kind of want to get into some more predictions now with where we left off. I kind of analyze where we left off. So, Yord Horde is gone. Jackie, wow, rip Jackie. That was, I, I think that it's been long enough, and okay, now I'm realizing, I guess, a slight benefit of maybe the week to week is like for 5 weeks, which is a long time in a screen, showtime. We've been following and speculating these characters, following them along. So we're finally kind of building attachment to some of these characters, or at least familiarity with them. So for them to be killed, it probably hit a bit more than if you maybe binged it. I guess I don't know. I mean, with a movie, you just see it once and you can get attached to characters. But okay, I'm getting sidetracked again. Oh no. Anyhow, Jackie, what'd you guys think of the Jackie death scene? I mean, that was pretty brutal for a Padawan on live action screen. Especially, I mean, I didn't know Disney would honestly do something like that. I'll be honest, like that was pretty brutal.
I think that was the moment. Was she the first one to go?
Of the
Like
main
the
characters.
first, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was where I was like, oh, they're not messing around anymore. That's what I'm saying. Like they're playing, like this is for keeps. I mean, they're done if they don't beat this guy. Yeah, like, exactly like you said. I didn't think they would ever do that in a million years because while 4 episodes it was 4 weeks of our lives that we lived with these characters. 5 weeks ago we didn't know who they were exactly. We didn't see them on screen other than trailers. But now 4 weeks later, we know Jackie. We have a little bit of relationship with Yord and kind of his development with Osha. Like what happened there? They knew each other since they were kids. Yeah, yeah. And then she just gets dunzoed and like after an amazing fight. I mean, I'm glad they gave her an amazing fight.
Yeah.
I might have clicked it off if it was like Osha walks over and it's just Jackie down on the ground, you're down on the ground, like right, and then like stacked next to Kelnaka. See, I'm a little miffed that Kelnaka didn't get his day in the sun, and I think we might get some flashback day in the sun. But my little Wookiee man, that just didn't make me happy either. I was like,
that's fair.
let's see him arguing a little bit at least, So when that happened with Jackie, I was like, the show went up a notch in a sad way.
Yeah, no, not messing around. I like the realisticness of it with that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you because like I was already on edge and like I'm chronically online, so like I see the Star Wars admin from Twitter, like they were getting people hyped, like they knew what happened and they still like sent people stickers for Yord Horde and like maybe stuff for Jackie too. Like they were literally like consistently interacting with people for 4 weeks, like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be good. And then this week they started sending people tissues. Like that's crazy. But I'm totally with you. Like the first part of the duel where Kimir is just like moving like a demon through all the Jedi, kills the Kel door, does the forbidden move where he turns off the lightsaber, turns it back on. Like the first time I was yelling at the TV like I was watching the Eagles game. I was like, oh, like
I was getting pretty loud too, like, which is good.
Like
they got me in.
Like I was fully locked in, and then like Jackie goes crazy. There was darkness in there. Like she turned like she pulled like to the dark side a little bit, bashed the helmet in. I was like, uh-oh. And then like the Shoto kill was crazy, and I'm with you. I wasn't expecting it. Like before when we did the stream with Galaxy, we were talking about who we thought was going to survive, and we kind of came to the consensus that it was going to be Jackie, Yord, and Soul, but Jackie or Yord might die. And I was kind of on the part where I could see either of them dying, but not both of them dying. And so when she died, I was like, and then the twist that came after, like it's just a little twist, but yeah.
Little twist. Oh yeah. I would say that Jackie, they gave us a little more of an intimate moments with her and Soul, whereas Yord they didn't as much. So I could have seen them you
It was
know,
pretty
I still.
abrupt. Was your
Well, and then Yord was like, we got to get out of here. Sol told us to get the heck out of here. So he's going back to the ship. He's like, come on, OSHA, we gotta go.
yeah, yeah.
And then and then he goes back to help. You know, he's like, all right, OSHA, now we'll go. You know, after like he knew that he wasn't going to get out of there. I don't know. I mean, he had his. You know, he could have just ran, and I gave the guy props for going back, helping
Yeah, I got,
Sol,
yeah.
and then unfortunately making the sacrifice that at this point feels a little bit not worth it. Maybe he should have just taken off. I guess then Soul would have been dead. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing, and yeah, OSHA got him killed. Like I don't really like OSHA anymore. I'm just being honest. He literally got him killed. I and your I said this after like the first couple episodes. My thoughts, like the first 15 minutes of the show, my first impression of him is he's got his shirt off or his robes off and ironing them. I'm like, I don't know if I like this guy too much. And then I really, he was like one of my favorites, like probably for the, like it was probably Soul and Yord for like, I liked that he had a personality that was easy to follow, pretty quick to pull the lightsaber out type of thing. But, and for the most part, pretty aggressive, but also kind of knew his place in the Jedi, would listen. So to go back and just almost immediately die was pretty brutal, and it led to that realisticness. Something I do want to touch on, and this is again, this has been the discussion this entire show for me, because a lot of people are already declaring that, like, from what's currently happened, like with the Sith and all that, it's the question with, you know, how are they going to tie this into the prequels with that discussion with Ki-Adi-Mundi and all that? Is it going to be like a setup or what? And I just want to say that first off, I still have yet to see something that has like actually like, you know, made that line not work. Like we don't know yet still where this ends. Like, and that's where we're going to get to is like, does Master Soul make it out to, you know, tell the Jedi what's going on? What I really liked about this though is like some people were really on Kamir about, you know, like dismask him, and he says like some would call me, you know, a Sith or whatever, and people are like, oh well, he just revealed that they're Sith, like it's all ruined now. I'm like, well, he did, you know, kind of make an effort to some extent, and he is trying to kill every single one of them. And he said that's my favorite. I think that's, well, there's two lines that are super dark that I really liked. The first one was after he killed Jeki, when he said, "Is that its name? Its name?" Like, oh my, oh, brutal. And then just the darkness of how he says, "And now I'm gonna have to kill every single one of you," type of thing. And I kind of hope that he does end up killing everyone. Like, it's sad as it sounds, but there are still other potential ways I could see this story ending that we've discussed, with the Jedi being naive, because the Jedi are naive. When there's 10,000 Jedi in the prequels, they allow one Sith to infiltrate, be among them. Because I see people like saying, what, they can't Sith, or they can't sense the Sith right behind them in episode 4? That's bizarre. And then I posted this meme. I'm like, have you watched the prequels when Palpatine's like in the office and every single Jedi Council member is right next to him? It's just, I'm open for criticism, but when it's like, okay, that's not even consistent with like the prequels and stuff. It's like, okay, I don't know. From a lore standpoint, other than I don't. Ki-Adi-Mundi never had a canon birthday. Do I think they should have just, maybe gone in there and changed that? No. Do I really care about something like that? Not really. But what I'm getting at, though, and I know I've been talking forever, I'll let you guys talk in a second, but how do you guys think they're gonna make it all make sense in these next 3 episodes? And what's the route they're gonna take? Is they gonna take the route of kill everyone, no witnesses, or is this gonna be some kind of cover-up mission where the Jedi are like, yep, there was no Sith, nothing to see here? Who wants to go first?
Go ahead. You want to go ahead, Anthony, Mr. What If, or do you want me to give my thoughts?
Go ahead.
I mean, I could see it taking a couple of different paths. I think what I want is, they all have to die, and somebody takes him down with themselves. You know what I'm saying? I like it's a Rogue One. I mean, they're all gone. You know, it's a one-off, and nobody makes it out alive. Now, how you explain, lightsabers? This is where I'm, on the lore side of it. How you explain when somebody finds those bodies of those Jedi,
Hmm.
lightsaber scoring and stab wounds and whatnot. Like how you don't think, like who else is walking around carrying lightsabers? So it's dangling a little bit of a fine line, but
For
there
sure.
are one of a half a dozen that I could think of explanations that could probably resolve that. But they're walking a tightrope based on, Kiadi Mundi and the Sith, not knowing the Sith are here, again, how much cover up is actually happening at the Jedi Temple? Is Venestra, isn't that the gal that,
Mhm.
how evil is she? How evil is Soul? I don't know what to think anymore. I'm like, they're all bad folks and they all need to go. You know what I'm saying? But I'm emotionally most tied to like Soul. I don't want to see him go because he feels a little bit fatherly toward Osha and had kind of stuck his neck out for her time and time again. But if he has a dark past that he has to pay for, maybe that's what happens. And Kamir, I don't actually want to see Kamir go though, because I like Kamir so much now. I feel like the show should be called the Kamir Show from here on out. I
Yeah.
want to see where he goes. If he's the real acolyte, if he's not an acolyte, I feel like they should have just been like, boom, he's an acolyte Sith. Yep, this is the guy or whatever acolyte. This is the guy we're looking for. We found it. This is the name of the show. It's named after him. How else is this going to play out? And then go from there. You know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
they're not. I think they might spin it to where, is there some witch magic involved? Is he not actually a Sith because he did say that vague,
Hmm.
You may call me a Sith," because I heard that too, and I've heard people saying, "Oh, he's a Sith. He's 100,000% a Sith because he said, some may call me a Sith." I'm like, but if I say some may call me Dan, it doesn't mean I didn't say I'm Dan. Some may call me Dave, and they're like, "Oh, okay. Hi, Dave." If you'd never heard my actual name, you would think, well, some call him Dave. I guess I'll call him Dave. You know. And then
Hmm.
again, there's a little bit of arrogance involved with the Jedi, not thinking that there's any Sith.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. It reminds me of like, it's weird, but it reminds me of like crooked police or something. It's almost like a police tale or something in some ways, as I'm sitting here thinking about it. It's like that guy I'm supposed to trust, but like maybe he's actually bad. And those are some of the best murder mystery movies where you're like, the good guy is a horrible human. you know. So I
So
don't know.
after 5 episodes, Anthony, what where do you lean? Where do you think they're taking this story to make it all kind of make sense?
Well, I'm gonna touch on the Chiaramundi point that you asked about first because I think he's got to be there intentionally. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I I've written enough stories where I just I've killed Chiaramundi off in a video for no reason, and I get cheers in the comment section. So like, to act like they were lifelong fans of this dude, I was like a little bit apprehensive. I was like,
Yeah, I don't think he was really in the spectacle. The dude had like 2 lines in the prequels, like the
yeah,
whole trilogy.
and both of those lines kind of undid everything. But like, we're talking about the same Jedi Council. I mean, we've proven that he's alive. There's 4 other council members that we know are alive, which are Yariel Poof, Oprah Rancisis, Yoda, and Yaddle, which are alive during this period. There might be Plo Koon as well, which would make it 6. But Qui-Gon Jinn literally walked in front of them and told them all, "There's a Sith," and they're like, "You hear this guy?" Like, so I think Mundi has a very important place there. I think the fact that like we've already seen him wrong in the show, like he says an apprentice that doesn't know their teacher, that's like like he thought it was blasphemy. Like he couldn't imagine the idea of it, and we've already seen that he's wrong about that. Um, as for like going forward, I I read the article that was put out. I didn't read the entire thing, but I skimmed pieces of it. And Leslie talked about that there are 2 Sith in the show. I don't know who's who, but at least my Star Wars theory on the idea is like I think we haven't seen the Sith Lord or the Sith Master. I think that we might spend the rest of the show on Kofar. I don't want Soul to die, like you said, Dan. I'm definitely very emotionally attached to him. He's my favorite Jedi from the series so far. He just hits in every way, kind of like the actor did in Squid Game. But like, I think that what we'll see is a Sith Lord show up because there's so much drama getting pulled into this area that they want to clean up the entire thing, cover it up as best they can, because Vernesher's biggest fear was the Jedi Council involving the Senate in this. So she's kind of laid the the stakes of the Jedi Council becoming aware of the scenario is that they're going to just run to the Senate and tell the Senate, "Hey, we found someone that can kill Jedi. Isn't that cool?" And that kind of feels in line with the whole prequels. I mean, Mace himself was like, "I think we should tell the Senate that our ability to use the Force has decreased or lessened." And Yoda's like, "Why would we do that? Like, let's not add to our enemies." And so, after all my mumbo jumbo, my point being, I think a Sith Lord's going to show up. I think that Sith Lord is going to clean house.
Mhm.
I think Hemir escapes, and I think that's how we see where the Sith are at the moment, and that's how we see the beginning of the Knights of Ren. That's what I'm kind of my theory at the moment.
And they did play that music at the end, which uh, that's just one of many things that I did not catch. There's been 2 episodes now, or after the episode, Anthony's had to explain the things I've missed. I'll be honest, I didn't even know Osha and May switched in the first watch. I wasn't really guess I wasn't paying attention very well.
Bismo, stop eating so much popcorn while you're watching the end of the show. No, just kidding. No, you were freaking out at the end of the last one because
I was just
that fight.
Yeah, I was like already satisfied. I was like, okay, like I don't really care what happens now. I like both these points. And I kind of want to address a couple of things from both of them, and then kind of speculate more and get a little nerdy with it. So yeah,
Yes.
so the idea, because it's a serious thing. Like if people stumble upon Jedi corpses, especially with lightsabers, like that's kind of sussy, you know. But who's to say, you know, that Sith Lord, like Anthony's saying, somebody shows up and let's just use a little Force magic here and let's just carry the bodies into a cave or something like that. Nobody will ever find them. I mean, deep in the wilderness. Gosh, there's so many different things rattling in my brain right now. Something that's kind of reminiscent and kind of, I guess, strengthen the point of like the Jedi are getting kind of weaker during the prequels or not as good at their job would be, I haven't brought up this one yet, but the construction of the clone army, the order of the clone army. Nobody has any idea that they had a massive army, like the Grand Army of the Republic ordered for them. And that was just covered up. The death of Cyphodius was covered up just by Dooku, and not one of the 10,000 Jedi could sense that. I mean, they eventually discovered him before, but didn't learn anything in the Clone Wars. But just, I guess, just kind of another example of how there could be similarities of like dead Jedi could be found, but if you don't have a ton of context, right, what's to say how they interpret it, or can the Sith make make it appear different than it has? Like, could he somehow set up the bodies to look like somehow there is infighting between the two, almost like the two factions? There's a number of different ways that could go. I think where I do truly lie, and now I'm going to get into some like hopes. I'm going to increase my hope level to really high, get my expectations probably higher than they should be. But another Sith Lord, potentially Darth Tenebrous or Darth Plagueis, comes in, wipes the floor with everyone, and then I'm hoping that there's an even better duel than we've already seen so far. Like, they've spent all that time practicing, doing all that, like, it was great. But what if the final duel is after Kamir or the Sith Lord has trapped Master Soul, killed Master Soul, everyone's kind of trapped there on this planet? Because I like the idea of it kind of staying on this planet, keeping it kind of under wraps. But what if the duel is the true Sith Lord versus the pretender Kamir? That could be an actual like two Sith kind of facing off. Essentially, that could be pretty epic. That's my hope, I guess. But I do think that it would make sense to incorporate a Darth Tenebrous or some other Sith following the rule of two that eventually falls down the line of Palpatine, to make it all make sense, cover it all up. And it's a pretty secluded planet, you know. I played Knights of the Republic. Finally finished KOTOR 2. Playlist somewhere, but it's a little self promo.
Way to go on that, man. You worked hard on that one.
It took a while. I didn't even know that. Like, the game is so rushed at the end that I didn't realize that I was gonna finish it. It went from like, all right, I just defeated Darth Nihilus to like an hour later, I'm then fighting against 2 different Sith Lords. I'm like, what's going on here? But the sidetrack though for that is, and that I'm always stumbling across like body, like skeletons of Jedi, skeleton of Sith that've just been laying around, and I'll loot their armor, loot their like swords. Like 100 years from now, or even like 50 years, like those bodies in that forest and stuff, not going to be much more than skeletons and like just a lightsaber and some skeletons, you know. And the Jedi, they could find it and be like, well, I think we found our missing persons. But maybe to keep our power and control over the Republic for the most part, maybe we just keep this on the down low. But I don't know. I guess I was just going through a number of different scenarios of how I guess it could play out. And I hope that there is another Sith, a true Sith. Not to say Kamir is very powerful and that was fun to watch. But it does seem like he's kind of this role of not necessarily a Sith, because he's saying the Jedi are calling him Sith, kind of like what you were saying, Dan, with like he doesn't call himself a Sith. That's what they'd probably call him, though. He just wants to use his power and have fun, it seems.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that would be very cool to see. He's like the Maul, you know, the Maul behind Palpatine or whatever. So he's doing all the dirty work. If there's a big bad, I would love to see the big bad, as you're saying. I don't know how many more characters they can introduce now at this point. I feel like we've met everybody we need to meet in the show for these 8 episodes, unless there's like season 2 or something. But but at the same time, they blew my expectations. I feel like they should have led with a few more nuggets of that fight sequence, because we saw like the throw and the whatever, some of the cool flashy stuff, but like that was so grippy, that fight sequence. I'm like, holy smokes, Kamir is bad, 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 you know. And we were, you know, I know people were guessing like which stuff. Is there any ties back to the witch moms and whatnot and the people over there, or is like the hand thing? What was the hand orange? Help me out, people. Is it just, or is it now? Are we all Acolyte Sith people? They're done for, and that's the end. Kamir was actually on that place, you know, hiding in the, you know, he was there with Osha and May at the, you know, following them along, or I don't know. Where are we at?
I don't know, Anthony. Do you know?
I could totally believe that Kiamir was on Brendok. I mean, we only saw like that one shot of all the dead witches. I've seen like a shot of someone wearing a cloak but no like visible face. So I mean, he could have been there. He seems to understand that he knows something about Soul. Like I said earlier, it could have been May,
Yeah.
but he could have also been there. But yeah,
So many questions, right?
There's
I
still
love
a
it.
lot
I
of
love it.
questions. And I mean,
Yeah.
that the main thing is like, because some of it is a little bit confusing, but could it be meant to be? Will they answer our questions? It's a lot of the reason why I'm, watching. It's just like any show, like the questions to be answered. I mean, with just any show, like how are they going to end it? And we're getting to that. We're in that latter half now. I mean, there's 3 episodes left. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
mean,
keep losing my stride here. Carry me, guys.
Is May gonna take out Soul on the way to the ship? You know what I'm saying? That's where we left off. What the heck? You know, I mean, if I were Soul, I'd be double, booking it out of there and making a phone call.
Yeah, definitely. Like
we
that's probably what
had
he's trying to do.
Like, I need a distress signal, like a legitimate distress signal, like now.
Yeah.
Somebody, get what's the little like animal creature, like just tell that thing to start yelling into the microphone and like tell the whole galaxy we got problems here. Because does anybody else know what it's saying? Is it because now that Yord's
Yeah.
gone, You know,
Nobody.
uh,
What if everyone dies, but that
except
thing,
for that.
and but nobody knows ever what he's saying. So like somebody investigates, and he's just like, and they're like, what? And that's how they tie it all together. Like there was somebody that saw it all, but couldn't understand. There's a language barrier.
Yep.
Language
Yep.
barrier.
Give me some Google Translate. That'll save us. But I feel like what you're saying, Anthony, like where when you're just like a small, like the Jedi are so vast right now. Like we're looking at a very small pocket of what they're doing. Obviously, we saw Kiadi, who's on the council. Is he on the council right now?
Not yet. He's on.
Okay.
He was a part of like that miniature thing.
Yep. So that's it's a small pocket of the Jedi, and I don't know. You all know better than me where how they situate, and they meet together at the Senate, maybe or
I
whatever.
don't.
They have a weekly meeting on Zoom. I don't know, but like, so like, it's not like you just call Yoda at this point. Like these guys are underlings. I'm thinking like a big giant corporation. If somebody at
Yeah.
the bottom is like, we got problems over here on floor number 3, and the people at like floor 150 are like, don't even talk to me. Like I got a golf outing. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, 4 Jedi like got out, off down this random jungle planet. Like, oh, that's the one with the bugs, isn't it? I don't even want to investigate. You know what I'm saying? It's like I feel like it does. There's a lot of it could go. Uh,
Mhm.
a lot. I can see what you're saying. Like with when I think of like a corporate side, like people just like bury stuff. Like I don't want to. Nope, we're not even gonna go
Mhm.
there. Like it's not just gonna all of a sudden bubble up to the surface because we know all the Jedi that should know. It's like when
Yeah.
Anakin and they find out Palpatine's a Sith. It's like just make a phone call. Go 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 now now now. Get out. And then it's like every
Yeah.
time I watch that scene, I'm like so much pain and misery could have been saved if there weren't so many rash decisions. But I also am a little mad at Soul, like why he doesn't know that's May.
I think that is definitely fair. Um,
But
like I think
maybe he
looking
does.
maybe either way. But one thing I was gonna say, regardless, is Soul looks a little worse for wear at the end of that episode. Like he looks a little, he was fighting for his life right there, and just watched every other Jedi just got greased. So maybe that's something I'll give it. Like he could have overlooked, but eventually he's gonna find out that that's May. But I'm curious now. Did they just cut it off right there? And does May, like you were saying, like attack Soul to prevent him from sending a message, or does Soul? Because that's what he should be doing. Immediately get a message off, and then from there, how do they contain to the next level of underlings? Like you're saying, so like he gets the message to like who's the green gal?
Vernestra.
Is she on the like low council, or like she's not? She's not on the high council, right?
No, she's not on any. She's not
Okay.
on any council.
She's not on
She's
any
just a Jedi
council.
Master.
Yeah. So that Dan, that fits perfectly with kind of what you're saying with this kind of hierarchy thing, because it seems like Venestrade. What's her name?
Venestra.
Venestra. Oh my
Right.
gosh, I'm so bad with names. So it seems like Venestra, because Soul's always reporting to her. It seems like she's kind of like, let's just think of it in general terms. She's kind of like the commander of this kind of like sect of Jedis, and she's like, well, I don't want to report this to the council, so we're gonna send Soul, the kind of captain of my kind of like team, with a bunch of the Jedi Knights and underlings of that squad to go deal with it. But until so Soul's gonna try to contact her. But then how will they contain that information? Like, will the Sith intercept that? Will May stop him? Will our comms already blocked? There's we've seen communication be jammed all the time in Star Wars. Is there some kind of like, was Kamir already super smart about this? Actually, real prediction right now, Kamir already somehow disabled the ship, whether he hired someone or disabled the ship. That ship might not be able to even take off. It could, but that's just a prediction I'm giving right now. What if the ship is already disabled to some extent?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see like a scenario where he's already gotten that far, where he's already thinking that far ahead. Back to your point about Soul, when he looked up and he was like, "Where's your sister?" There was some kind of reaction from May that like he made a face to him, and so I think he might like subconsciously know, but he hasn't like consciously registered it yet, because like I think his first thing to do is go and inform Vernestra. She kind of seems like the head of this operation, as you were saying, like the commander. Um, we with the one of those few remaining trailer shots that we have is her using the light whip, and that appears to be on Kofar. So
Mm.
So yeah, what if she doesn't? She doesn't. What if she wants to go clean up the mess? Like, oh crap, I don't want to report my failures
Yeah.
and get freaking.
Yeah.
So the boss has to come in, and then
Ugh.
they. Long story short, they screw the pooch, and everyone gets killed off, and their remains are scattered, and they just are on the missing Jedi list forever. No.
yeah, I'm gonna add an addition to Vernestra that would kind of make sense of why she would do it. Like, if Soul came back again, the Jedi are gonna be like kind of arrogant about it, but she's also like a child prodigy. Like, she's what Anakin should have been essentially. Like, brought into the Order, trained properly, like taken care of properly. Like, she became a knight at like 16, I think. So I also, with that background knowledge, I would also see no reason see no reason why she would just be like, oh, I can handle this. I'll just take a couple of my friends and we'll clean up. But we'll see what happens, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the fun with this though. Is like now I'm just like really curious. What direction are they taking this? Like, how do they make it? Like, how are our questions here? Are our speculation? Is somebody gonna kind of nail it, or are they gonna? Is there some kind of different scenario that we haven't even touched on? Because I'll be honest, our last stream we kind of I think we predicted pretty well that just about everyone was gonna die. No.
Yeah. I think we did a pretty good job last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
He even said that he spelled it out. He's like, well, now you all have to die. And you're like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
yeah, I guess he's serious. And then I actually thought Soul was gone. I was like, what if they pulled a fast one? This only is like 5 episodes or 6 episodes. They said 8, but they were just kidding. It ends after 5 or 6, and like that's it.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I
I feel like sometimes the 8 episodes drag on a little too long. Like this could have been the climax, like where they
Mhm.
solved everything. But then again, that's
Yeah.
just me.
And that's why I will like a lot of these. I think I would have enjoyed as a movie. Still, like I love Ahsoka. I think it would have been amazing on a big screen. And
Yeah.
this, like, there's some moments where it's like, maybe I didn't need that. Like some extra lore bits are fun, but like, imagine going to a theater and seeing that on the big screen. That fight, like the killings and all that. Like, wow.
The twists, all the twists. Love. Dude, I'm a little still mad with Soul why he didn't just take out Kamir. Although I like Kamir maybe more than anybody now. As
Yeah.
dark as I am when I become Danikin.
Yes,
Some may
good.
call me Danikin. I'm like, dude, that was your chance? Like, don't give me this.
Mhm.
I'm fighting by the Marcus of Queensberry rules or whatever. I'm thinking of like you know what movie I'm talking about? Old like fist fight rules,
Rocky?
back in like the 1800s. No, this is going back to
This
like the
is not Rocky.
the Quiet Man. This is John Wayne, and he gets up there and he's like the Marcus. So there's like proper rules of engagement,
Okay.
And Soul's like, I'm not gonna kill him, even though you just took out all my best friends and da da da. And then he's like, come on, Osha May, whoever you are. I don't know. I got hit in the head. Well, you're one of them. I don't know. Let's go. Yeah. But clearly he was a little out. Somebody said in the chat that like if he knew it was May, he wouldn't have left OSHA. But at the same time, they're not gone. The ship didn't take off. So he
Mhm.
could be like taking her back to the ship to like handcuff her and be like, I'm going back for everybody. And,
Yeah.
Venestra, come here. We got to take care of this. But somehow Kamir's still out there now. This is the problem. He's out there. Like the wild card is out running around, and he
T-
has told everybody who he may be. So like, why would he say that if he knew he wasn't going to drop a bomb on everybody and they were done?
Yeah.
He can't leave any loose ends. If he's got a master, the master's not going to be happy. If
Take a break,
if
mate. Knows what you're talking about. He's like, yes, honorable Victorian boxing. Don't you dare dodge. Is that what you're getting at?
That's, that's basically it. Yeah, you got to just play by the rules and take it on the chin,
Oof.
And maybe
Yeah,
that's what he did. Maybe Soul is that good of a person.
yeah. Well, Kamir definitely like manipulated, twisted him. I think for sure, like the only unreasonable part where it's like, okay, well, Osha just said don't kill him, and then essentially tried to kill him, or like let nature kill him. So I was like, okay, like if Kamir actually died there, I would have been really upset. So I was happy he did not. That would have been brutal. I just like the playing to win. Very, very deception. I can't English. So yeah, I think we will stay on. What's the planet's name we are currently on?
Kofar?
I think we will stay on Kofar. I'm curious because I'm like, that's something I feel really strong about now we've been talking about. I think like the main, like based on what we've seen from the trailers, 2 flashbacks, I think kind of like the main story for the most part will stay here. Now, but Nestra, does she get contacted? Or does she not? Or does like Soul never get a chance to send that message via May or Kamir, or there's comms or jam? So she then just doesn't, for not hearing anything, is like, well, I gotta go investigate what's going on, type of thing. And I kind of like the idea. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter a ton of how she ends up there, as long as Soul doesn't broadcast this information to everyone. But let's assume, I kind of like the idea though of like she doesn't hear anything and has to go investigate, and the idea of her not hearing anything, she maybe isn't as prepared for the encounter as she would think, or as one would think, I guess.
Yeah, I really don't think like there's any degree of anything that anyone could tell her that would make her as prepared as she could be for this. Because like I don't think anyone was at all prepared. Like obviously they weren't, because
Mhm.
Kimir kind of just dropped in on them. But like I don't think there's
He
a degree
literally
to any
dropped
like.
it.
Yeah, he literally dropped it.
It kind of reminds me like of how Mace Windu and Megan Cole or Stacey Tin Kit Fisto went to fight Palpatine. Like they knew he was a Sith Lord, and he still dogged them. Like you know, like they literally knew what he was when they went in, and they went in thinking they were gonna do what the Jedi did 1,000 years before, and just dog walk the Sith, and that wasn't what happened. I could see the same thing happening here.
Yeah, and that particular group was only there to pick up May, right?
Uh, yeah, they were there to save Master Kalnaka.
Yeah, yep. So they're like, well, we don't actually fight very good. We know Kelnaka will take care of us once we get there. To like let him know, like, Kelnaka, take care of him all. Like, what? He's out, our secret weapon. You know?
Kanako
Crap.
was zonked out, just sleeping, taking a nap. No.
Yeah, he's just taking a nap. Maybe it's fake. Maybe I was hoping it would just be like a tummy stab and he'll be fine, you know? Give me the tummy stab, Kelnaka. We'll get you back to the ship and we'll bandage you up.
Yeah.
No,
I
he got the
It would be nice, because that is definitely something that I was disappointed in no Kelnaka fight scene, because his lightsaber looked really cool, like just it's huge. So hopefully in a flashback we get to see some of that. Yeah, it's either flashback or we continue where we left off, right? So some of our answers should be answered, like some of our questions should be answered in this episode regardless. It's either we're getting flashback and we're getting answers on what happened to the structural integrity of that place, of the castle, or
yeah.
we get to find out immediately, does Soul contact, or what happens with that. So we're getting very close now. We're 25 minutes away. We'll be live for about 10 or so more minutes. We're gonna be wrapping up. Let you guys kind of discuss what else we want to touch on, and we'll chat if you guys want to leave some predictions or have some questions for us for the last little bit here. Feel free to put them in. But yeah, what do you guys think? Anything we haven't touched on, or any like other predictions, I guess? We've been pretty in depth. No.
You guys know what you're talking about. I've been watching it for 4 weeks. I'm like, I don't got to say anything. I just let them roll, you know? You guys get it right every time, 110%. You know it. You call it.
Definitely not. No, yeah, Dan. It's definitely been fun having you on. Thanks for joining. We're not closing up here, just to be clear.
See ya. No.
No. Yeah, no. You brought in some like perspectives too that were like, that kind of helped me think of some other ideas too, with that like kind of factory or like corporate like the Jedi as like it's an organization, right? It's got kind of a bunch of layers to it. Like you got Yoda, if there are other High Council members, right? Like
Yeah.
Grant, and then the Jedi High Council, Jedi like master that are prodigy masters, and then like the Master Souls. It's like, pretty layered in depth like that. Do I think Kamir is hot? I don't know why I chose to read that, but yeah, sure. Sure.
He was definitely sweating a lot on Kofar. I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine the smell on Kofar? What?
Roasted bodies. It's
like-
just nice and sweaty.
It's like permanent gym stank, like, oh man, like sweat.
Yeah.
The bugs are sweating.
Yeah. And I don't think we've touched on this, but like, I think for the most part, most people called that Kamir would be the Sith from another number of things. And like, yes, it was, in some ways it was like obvious, but I didn't mind it making sense though. Like if I was not in a digital world where I'm online, or let's say I'm just talking to Anthony after talking to a stream, and like I get things explained to me, I don't think I would be as confident knowing that would be Kamir. I think that would probably still be my best guess. Regardless, what I'm getting at though is like I liked that it was him. I like the idea of this Sith hiding in plain sight. It's very reminiscent of just a dark side Force user. I mean, hello, Palpatine. He's just hiding in plain sight just the whole time. This one's acting like a bumbling idiot, which is kind of fun. It's kind of Jar Jar like. But it's just a fun idea of like okay, we expect them, but like the people in universe, do they expect a guy like that though? Like, for the most part, like the bumbling idiot who seems to have drug problems or like act like they have in the first couple episodes, right? Like, oh, sampling my own product, essentially. Like,
Right. Did May know he was the Sith? Or her master, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The master, as they called
and
him, or
I think that's the biggest critiquing callers. Like, how did May not know, right? I mean, he even says peace is a lie at some point. I mean, they both know it.
Yeah.
He taught it to her, but
wasn't she figuring it out on their long walk in the woods? Isn't that why she basically? I don't know. I'm a little confused. You guys can help me out there. Like she like turned so quickly. She's like, well,
Yeah.
all this time I've had time to think. Well, I was thinking that she's asking him questions for once. She's kind of grilling him, and then she's kind of realizing this guy, at least he's unsavory, if not the master. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she was willing to roll the dice on turning herself in, unless it was a fake turn herself in to get him to reveal himself so that she could move on to the next phase.
Yeah.
Because it looked like a fake turn yourself in.
Yeah.
Once Jackie showed, she's like, "Oh no, I'm killing you all."
Yeah. Galaxy also, that was kind of his one complaint of the last episode, was the turn was a little quick. So yeah, it's interesting if was that a fake, or did she finally sense like I gotta get out of here? Like,
yeah. I don't know.
It kind of seemed like she caught like the hint, because like she was like you said, Dan, she was grilling him, and like before they even enter the forest, he's like, oh, I just owe him. Anyways, here, look, there's a forest over here. We should go down there. And she's kind of like, but I think that's also the interesting thing about May, is that like her flippy floppiness, like she flips a lot, like whether it's gonna kill the Wookiee, or I'm gonna turn myself in, or hey, we're best sisters. Actually, I'm gonna knock you out and pretend I'm you. Like she seems like she's very I feel like there's a reason for it, and I feel like we don't have that reason yet, but I think that makes her really interesting. It's just like I definitely get the complaint for it, because I'm like, all right, stick with your path. But it kind of like reminds me of an inverse Kemir, like not as goofy, but as like there's something off about you.
Yeah.
You know?
Almost, I would say emotionally unstable. I would say like because the decisions fluctuate so much. I mean, from an early age, if somebody, when they're like, I don't know how they're old, they're supposed to be like 7 or 8 years old in episode 3. If two siblings are fighting and they take it to the next level where one of them's like, I'm going to kill you, and lights something on fire, like, maybe the brain doesn't work, how it's supposed to, and maybe there's just a lot going on. I did see something from Take a Break, mate. I wanted to read. Do you think Kamir is going to get slapped down for almost revealing the Sith? I hope so, and I want to lean towards I think so. Do you think Kamir survives the show, or does he get killed by the Sith or someone else?
Dan?
Do I think Kamir's going to survive? Ah, man, I want him to survive. Is that weird?
No.
No.
I want him to survive. So I hope he does not die. That doesn't mean that the Jedi have to lose. I just mean that I think actually what they will do is Rogue One and they're all going to go. But I don't want Kamir to die. I would be okay with everybody else because there's so much ambiguity. If I'm telling a story and I'm narrating it like, and I'm not telling you like this guy, you need to root for this guy, you need to root for this person, because everybody's a little bit morally ambiguous because they're always questioning everybody. Even Kamir was questioning Soul for the first time, and I'm like, why do I trust Kamir questioning Soul all of a sudden more than anybody else? I'm like, Kamir, like I feel him now because he is kind of like the Joker now. He's a little off. He's off his rocker. He's a little cuckoo. But at the same time, he's got a purpose. Like he literally just wants to go do what he wants to do, and I believe him. Maybe it's his performance that I believe versus some of the other performances aren't quite that level for me.
Yeah.
But then again,
I mean, I agree with that. Like he
just,
took that to the next level.
Yeah, he went off the charts. So, but then again, I don't want him to die. He might. What if Soul was like somehow knew him and was his master? I had some crazy thought there at some point, but they knew each other from somewhere or somehow. And Soul asking, why are you willing to reveal yourself now, bro? What's your problem? Like we talked about tomorrow after Kofar.
Yeah. KG makes a good point about saying May turned because she didn't want to fight a Jedi Wookiee that's like 9 feet tall. You know, that could have done it. You know, maybe she's thinking, you know, reflecting on my fights, like I barely beat the first master. I had to like trick her, and then I poisoned the second one. Like, how am I gonna win? Like, maybe she finally because you know emotion or whatever. But no, I think that's kind of funny though. A good potential points. All right, we got a couple minutes here. Get final chat or final thoughts both here and in the chat if we were gonna read them off. A lot of questions now. A lot of questions. That's the thing. I think I have more like the predictions. You have more questions now than answers. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
Yeah, that's where it's interesting. If it were bingeable, we wouldn't have as many questions probably because they would be answered. We would watch especially after this episode, we'd probably instantly watch the next one
immediately.
I mean, from 5 to 6, you're like, no, I need to know where what. Why is he going back to the ship with May now? What make a phone call. Where's Kamir going? You know, so OSHA's alive, right?
Yeah.
100%.
It seemed like Kimir was coddling her a little bit.
He force healed. That's the one thing I did pick up on. It looked like he force healed her.
Oh, I did not pick up on that. He did.
Yeah, it looked like he did.
It was the one time I picked up on something Anthony missed. Sorry, Anthony. I had to say it's usually the other way.
I respect it.
You had to explain the other 2 or 3 things in that episode. All right. Well, Jeff says, do you think this next episode is a continuation or flashback? Let's vote here. Actually, okay, let's do a poll for that, and then I want to hear what you guys think on that. Dan, flashback, or are we going to continue where we left off?
I think both. I think we have to see both, but I think first continuation.
We're gonna okay. Is that
I like
so?
that
This
only
episode's
2 options.
Yeah. Well, this episode, like flashback or continuation? You're saying continuation?
We're gonna continue. Yeah.
Okay, Anthony.
I think continue, but I'm with Dan. I think there's going to be a flashback in it. Like,
okay.
I just get the vibe that there's like going to be a flashback in this episode. Like, it has to, at least from my perspective, it has to come from Kimir and Osha. Like that, it just seems like you're setting it up because she's gonna wake up and he's gonna be sitting there like, hey, you know?
Yeah. He's a little creepy, but it seems everybody thinks that this is going to be continuation. I do think they will continue, but maybe the last 10 minutes or something like that. Because I don't think we need an entire another episode of flashback. So maybe that's more of a hope, but because I want to see this current story now because now I'm invested. Yeah, I think we are going to start off with the continuing, and I think we're immediately going to get an answer on the question of the ship. Like, is the soul get to the ship? What happens there? Does he get a message off, or like what happens? Those are going to be crucial minutes. So yeah, I think hopefully we'll get right into it. You know, less filler. Take a break? Mate says, do you think it's coming home in reference to England soccer team? No. Come on, take a break, mate. Did USA get eliminated yesterday? I kind of forgot. I don't really follow it that well, but I thought he just Force turned her over. Did he heal? I saw Force heal. If you look closely, you can see the wound heal a little bit. I think they're pretty subtle with it, but I think it's definitely there. The power of one, the power of two, the power of Manny. Manny, the power of Kamir Manny. That's good spin on that. All right, well, it's been fun. I think we're gonna wrap it up there so you guys can get popcorn and whatnot. Stay on target. Should be live tomorrow, right? Every Wednesday, 7 Eastern.
It's 8. Oh no, they do 7 now. I don't know. It's been so long since I've been on that show.
We've poached them. Let it be
sorry.
known. Let it be known.
I am the Senate. I am stay on target. Of course, it's 7 o'clock if I say it. Yeah, no, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Let's do it.
Let it be known. We have now poached Dan. He is now a part of the Bismo Show. Sorry, Dustin. Sorry, fact checker. It is over. I need a pilot. I feel like Chewie in the corner here, just punch it. Like, I don't know, just make it work. But
oh man. I'm glad that Jep the Gamer adopted Kamir's the Star Wars Joker. If there's anything that I left out of this stream, I'm taking that one.
Yeah. For sure. Thanks for those of you all in the chat. Sorry I couldn't get to everyone. I definitely read most chats, though. Some good discussion going on there. And thanks, Anthony, for joining. Let's go get some answers to our questions. All right. With that, I'll see you next week, same time, to discuss what just happened and predict it all over again. Peace out, everyone.